Since 1954, Terrebonne General has been a beacon of health and hope in our community. As we mark 7 decades of dedication to your well-being, Terrebonne General Health System remains committed to advancing healthcare, improving lives, and expanding our services to meet your evolving needs. In celebrating our past, we look forward to a future filled with promise and progress. Your health is our legacy. To discover more, visit tghealthsystem.com.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. And you know, if ever you're wondering about what's happening with regards to if we can afford something, where we should go, there's some teams that do research about that. We're very glad to have them as we welcome into the program. Mr. Rod Griffin. Rod, thanks for joining us today.
Keith, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Rod is the Senior Director of Public Education and Advocacy for Experian. And so Experian does a great deal of time and energy looking into where people are spending their money, how they're spending it, and how to be a little bit smarter about that. Tell us a little bit about how things look now in the middle or the end of the summer.
Yeah, they're hot right now. So people are looking to get on the road. They still tell us that, they want to take road trips. We just did a survey. 71% told us that inflation's affecting their travel budget this year, but they still plan to get out there and still plan to travel. Gas will be their most anticipated expense, biggest expense. Accommodations will be the second. So where are we going to stay? So not that much different, I don't think, from our usual kind of thoughts. It's just that we're hit hard by inflation and the amount of money that's taken out of our wallets. That's a huge issue right now.
Yeah, and so one of those things, you talk about how hot it is. We've certainly experienced this heat wave this summer. When you're paying more for your electric bill at home, very often it makes it difficult for us to kind of save some money where inflation is also impacting going on a trip.
Yeah, absolutely is. And, we're looking at ways to put money back in our wallets. One of the things people told us is that they're not only looking at fuel prices or accommodations when they're on the road, they're looking at other ways they can save money as well. Things like auto insurance are on their mind. We also know that auto insurance rates have gone up about 20% over the last year or so. And so finding ways to reduce those costs, finding better rates and better terms is really important. We have actually introduced an auto insurance marketplace. It's a free service. We work with, at Experian, about 40 of the largest insurance companies in the country and shop for the rates for you. You don't even have to really do anything. You enroll at Experian.com. We'll find the best rates available. And then we monitor them. So as you're driving down the road, you don't have to worry about whether or not you could get a better rate somewhere. We actually watch for you. 20% of people told us they would rather sit in a traffic jam and not move than shop for insurance rates. So we can help them find better rates throughout the year. That's fantastic. The average savings is about $800 a year. So it really does help put money in your pocket.
Yeah. And again, $800 a year may make the difference on whether or not you can go somewhere or not. As we know that those trips are typically some $800 to $1,000 or so, right?
Right. They tell us that their budgets this year about $1,000. Interestingly, most people told us that their budget's about $1,000, but they would also be willing to spend more if they have to. So we hope they're not taking on debt. That's another really important factor. We don't want you to have to pay for your travel debts for this summer, next summer. We want to make sure that you can get on the road next year too.
Yeah. And one of those things I know we think about some of the electrical companies come on and talk a little bit about, if you raise that temperature just a little bit in the house, and not that you have to do it incrementally each day, but if you raise it a little bit, instead of it being much cooler, don't let your unit have to work so hard. We can really add some pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters that become dollars that we can save up for leading up to those trips.
Yeah, absolutely true. Everything adds up. So if if it's hot outside, but you have it a little bit warmer, a degree or two in the house, that's going to save you significantly over time. Same thing true with maintenance of the things that you're paying for. That air conditioning system, for example, your car. We find that if you're paying for regular maintenance, new tires, changing the oil, taking care of that car, it's going to be cheaper in the long run for you than getting somewhere down the road and then having to make an emergency repair that comes straight out of your savings account. So planning ahead, looking at all sorts of ways that you can reduce your costs through preventative maintenance, reducing your food costs by using coupons or other incentives and other programs. Using credit, being with Experian, if you have a credit card and you get cash back and you make all of your purchases with that card each month, but you pay the balance in full, you can have credit without taking on debt, and it might save you some money as well. You could get a little bit of cash back. You might get discounts on your purchases. You might get fuel discounts. That's something my wife and I do a lot, is make sure we're getting fuel discounts at our local grocery store.
Myself. So my wife, I will tell you, does the same thing. We only fill up at that particular station or that particular brand because we get cash back for it. We save at the pump every time we do that. More importantly, we can also save by not only using that credit card and being able to pay that off, but you get those reward points. Very often, you can end up getting a whole lot more bang for your buck, if you will, when you're spending with hotel rooms and those kinds of things. We take advantage of that as well.
Yeah, very true. Back to the credit discussion, credit and debt aren't the same thing. They're very closely related, obviously. Mm-hmm. But credit's a financial tool. Debt's the financial problem. If you have a credit card that you're using, then it gives you airline miles or it gives you discounts, as you mentioned, on hotel stays or points toward hotel stays. That can save you money in the long run. It can help you take a trip this summer, maybe a little longer trip, a little further, or stay away from home a little bit longer, a few days. And so, taking advantage of the credit resources that are available to you are really important. I say that with this caveat. You should check your credit report, know what's in it, because you need to know what's there to make sure that, one, your identity is safe. Another concern we could probably spend a lot of time on about summer travel is the potential for identity theft. And how do you protect yourself? Using credit can give you some protections there against losses. And so could save you money and time in the future as well. So think about using credit. Get your credit report. It's free at annualcreditreport.com. It's actually free 156 times a year. So you don't have to pay for your credit report. You can get one once a week. So know what's in there. It won't affect your credit scores. It won't hurt you at all.
Well, Rod Griffith, we appreciate it very, very much. We know Experian's doing that research for us. And we thank you for your time and for sharing the updates with us today.
Great. Thank you. Thank you again for having me. Glad to be here.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular edition of Bayou Time, but don't go anywhere. A whole lot more local programming right here on HTV.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford & Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.